Hello, everyone, and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Today, I have with me a fabulous queen who graced our screens when she appeared on RuPaul's Drag Race Season 15. I'm super excited for you all to get to know her better and learn more about her amazing journey in drag. We'll, of course, be talking all things Drag Race, and I'll be asking some of the amazing questions you all sent in. So please join me in welcoming the stunning queen of Best Buy herself, Robin Fierce.
I guess it's a good thing that I am wearing blue today, as that is my introduction. Hello,
Hi!
y'all. Welcome to my store. How can I help you today?
We'll get into that, but I just thought I had to, you are the Best Buy queen.
I wish they were giving me Best Buy promo checks. That would be lovely, with as much as my drag has promoted Best Buy.
Yeah, they really owe you royalties at this point.
At this point, something.
Well, lovely to meet you, like on, finally. And I've been meaning to
Yes.
interview you for so long. So I loved you on your season. I always felt like you maybe didn't get the airtime that I think you deserved because I always thought you were such a stunning queen on the show. And
Me, I got so much airtime. The show was about me,
yeah,
I think.
sure. But yeah, so I loved you on the show, and I've been meaning to have you on. So I thought it'd be lovely to just have a little chat with you, talk about you and your drag and things. We'll also get into your time on the show and talk about your edit and things like that. And then yeah, just
Yes,
have a little
do it.
kiki, ask some questions from my subscribers as well.
Also, hi, subscribers. Thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed, click the little button down below. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Okay? That's the fierce dictation.
You're doing my job for me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's why I'm here.
Well, I was wondering if could you perhaps start us out by giving us a little bit of a rundown of what the origin of Robin Fierce is. So how did you start drag and then where does your drag name come from within that?
Sure. Ooh, it's been so long now, I don't remember. No, I'm kidding. So origins of Robin Fierce, I think is the origins of many of the modern queens these days. It is watching Drag Race. I came out when I was about 19-ish as 1920 as Vi, which did not continue through my queer journey. But when I came out, I really wanted to like have an opportunity to like dive into what queer culture was because I had avoided it for so long. And I started watching Drag Race. I started doing makeup because I was like, actually, rewind. I thought drag queens were weird as hell. I wanted no parts before coming out. Like one of my friends, who I think suspected the queendom, the gayness that was in here, which it wasn't hard to find, wanted to bring me to a club here in Connecticut that's no longer open called the Polo, and they were having drag shows. And I'm like, no, that's not for me. No, thank you. But I watched the show, and my first season was season 7, and then I watched season 8 live. And I was like, you know what? These weirdos are not more weird than me or less weird than me. So why don't I give this a try? I've always been an artistic person, and um, I threw some makeup on. My ex-boyfriend at the time knew how to do like boy makeup, so he kind of like guided me a little bit, even though looking back on his makeup probably wasn't that great. It was just some foundation and a chapstick and maybe a cute little 1-2 on the eye, but that was more knowledge than I had. So I appreciated him for that. And his house was kind of like a safe space for me to like practice makeup and all that stuff because mine at the time wasn't. But yeah, then I started doing drag makeup, and then eventually I did my first gig at a club in Massachusetts, which is about 30 minutes from me. Um, Called the X Room, and it really is a strip club. But they did drag shows on the side to bring in like different clientels and stuff. But they did drag shows. They still do drag shows, actually, different venue now, but they still do drag shows. And I was working or doing my makeup, and one of my friends was doing the gig, but somebody dropped out of that gig. And the host, Ivana, called her, and was like, "Hey, girl, somebody just dropped out of the gig. Do you know anybody?" And I'm literally in the corner on her floor, like doing my eye, and I'm like, me, me, I'm right here. I can do it. I can do it. And I sent my music, and my first gig was literally a paid gig. So that's why she's always making her money, honey, because I've never not made my money, honey. Um, but yeah, that was a very long story, but that was the beginning of Robin Fears.
I mean, that's a great story. So basically, what I'm hearing is that you started out as a stripper.
I mean, and maybe I have just continued that narrative for myself, especially as I become a non-padded diva at times. So, it was fitting. It was fitting.
And so, where did the name Robin Fierce come from?
Um, I wanted something that started with an R or sounded close to my name, even though it doesn't sound like my actual name at all. They both start with an R. Um, but I didn't want to be called something so like different from my actual name. And I liked Raven, or I still like Raven. And she had a bird name. I'm like, okay, this name starts with an R. It's a bird name, like Raven, so why not? And then Fierce, I thought that drag queens like use their last names to like describe what they wanted their drag to be, or it was a pun, and I couldn't think of a pun. So I'm like, okay, what can my drag be? And I wasn't sure because I was just getting into the community. So I'm like, whatever it is I do, whether I'm a pretty girl, a campy girl, whatever else kind of drag queens there are, I wanted to always be fierce. So fierce was the name that stuck.
Oh, why not? I love the origin of that. You're like, I want a bird, a bit like Raven, and I am fierce, so Robin Fierce. There you go. Like that's why not?
Some people think it's like a Sasha Fierce thing. I do like Beyonce, but that wasn't even like a consideration for me.
Well, moving on to Drag Race, who we obviously were mentioning. So, when did Drag Race come into the equation? Because you said you sort of started drag after watching Drag Race. So, when did you decide to actually
Yeah.
audition for it? And was season 15 the first one you auditioned for?
No, I had auditioned season 15 was my fifth season auditioning. And for me, I since coming out, I've always enjoyed Drag Race. It was one of the few places that were like more mainstream talking about queer stories. Um, and I started drag because I was inspired by Drag Race, but I didn't start drag to be on Drag Race, if that makes sense. And I feel like some of the narrative these days are I want to do drag so I can get on Drag Race, which wasn't a thing for me. I auditioned for the show maybe two 2 years in was my first audition, 2 years in doing drag, maybe three. But I had seen queens like Brita Filter and Jasmine Rice LaBeija in New York being full-time queens without Drag Race. And for me, those two were like early inspirations to me. I'm like, oh, okay, this thing that I call my art that I enjoy doing can be a career, or something that I can enjoy and make money doing. So I just always wanted to be a full-time queen, and I think where Drag Race came into play is that was the fastest route to do that. Cut two, I was a full-time drag queen before getting on Drag Race, so that goal um, came into fruition for me, and then Drag Race really just continued to push that even more, which I'm very thankful for.
Well, yeah, and speaking of Drag Race and I mentioned this obviously in my intro, and the thing maybe you're known for as well was the whole Best Buy thing. I would love to kind of get into. So on the show, you mentioned that you had worked at Best Buy, and which is a shop or a store for any people who may not know out in the US. So, and the thing I found really interesting was not only did you work there, but you would go there in drag sometimes if you had a drag show afterwards, so you wouldn't have to like change or, get ready afterwards. I was just wondering what that was like. Can you sort of talk us through how people sort of perceived you and what was that like working at Best Buy in drag?
Yeah. I don't think I mentioned it on the show. I think I mentioned it with Joey Nofi when we were doing the press stuff when we were shooting the promo. But everybody took that and ran with it, especially since they didn't know anything else really about me. Um, and I mean, it was a fun time. I was fortunate that my supervisor was a queer person. And I asked them one day, hey, like I also do drag, and it's another way that I support myself. But at the time, it took me like 3, 4, 5 hours. No, I think it at max it took me 4 hours to get in drag at that time because I'm such a perfectionist and need everything to be as perfect as it can, even though at the time I still probably looked a little crazy. Um, but they said yes, and the first few times I would come in full drag, wig, titties, pads, heels. The first time I came in heels, and then the assistant general manager was like, "That's a safety hazard. You can't do that." The rest of it, sure, fine, go off, sis. But the heels have got to go. And I was like, "I'm in drag. How dare you? These are heeled boots. This is safe. This is a workplace safe heel." But yeah, she wouldn't let me. But no, yeah, I mean, it was fine. My coworkers, I think, got a kick out of it. Some of them were like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I mean, you can't really say anything about it because I could report you and you get fired. But I think customers, some of them knew, some of them didn't. And I think, I know it's a canceled term, but I think I look more fish now than I did back then. But some of them still felt the fantasy to the point where like I was helping this one gentleman try to find a TV because I worked in the TV department. Um, and or home theater, as they would call it, and helped him, gave him all the information that he needed. And the next day he came back and he's like, "Yeah, this woman helped me. I was wondering where she is so she couldn't help the process, blah, 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 blah." And then all my coworkers turned and pointed to me out of drag, and they're like, "Yeah, that was that person. That was him over there." And he gagged. And he was like, "Well, you fooled me. I thought you were the manager or something up in here." And I'm like, "Nope, diva, just a boy in a wig."
It's insane. I mean, I've seen the picture of you in the Best Buy, in the outfit and everything. And to be fair, you were, I would say, unclockable. I would have genuinely, if I was someone on the street, I would not have been able to tell.
Baby,
So,
with that bob, of course I was unclockable. I was somebody's auntie working up in Best Buy, okay?
did you, out of curiosity, obviously we hear so much about, especially, I mean, maybe more nowadays, but unfortunately, there's a lot of, abuse towards drag queens and a lot of legislation and things like that, which obviously is horrible. Did you ever get any sort of like pushback from customers or any or Best Buy themselves because of the drag, or did you find it quite
Um,
accepting?
No, not really. One, I think I don't know what their policies are now, but at the time, Best Buy was very generally welcoming to any and everybody in their policies. So from management wise, I was good. Customer wise, if they weren't interested in getting my help, they would just walk away and go to another section. I never really got any backlash in that regards, but I also fortunately live in Connecticut, as y'all know, because my season was Connecticut versus the world. But I live in Connecticut and it is very democratic, so
Well, speaking of Connecticut, obviously you mentioned earlier, so your season was kind of like Connecticut versus the world. So when you walked through the doors that first day on season 15, and then also, because I know you did sort of like the split premiere, but when you eventually, I guess, saw every single person,
yeah.
who of the cast did you know?
Um, I had known Lucy. Lucy was around before I started, so um, I think and I don't think this is to my own horn. I think other Connecticut people would contest or attest to this. But I think the three most working queens at the time of us getting on Drag Race were me, Lucy, and another queen, Mia Easylay out here. So me, Lucy, Mia, we've all gone back and forth and worked together. Lucy was there when not there to help me, but there around when I started drag because she's been doing this, I think, for like 13 years or something like that. Maybe a little more. I knew Amethyst, of course, as we all know. Blah, blah, blah. We can blow past that. She's lovely though. We are still friends. I knew Jax from New York, even though they kind of put Jax in the Connecticut group. Jax started in New York, but he's from Connecticut. Who else did I know? I think I think that was it. I had knew of Sasha Colby as many of us had. I didn't know like the scope and the depth of her legendary hood. And I even remember saying to her like, Sasha, I know of you, but I can't wait to see like the legend the icon that I hear about because I didn't really know her like that. I knew she was a Continental winner. I knew she was like this amazing person. But I also got to see all those things live and in person. Um, and I think that's it for who I knew going into it, and everybody else I met there.
Okay, so it was kind of like you knew Connecticut plus Sasha, and I guess Jax is sort of an honorary Connecticutian
Yeah,
person, whatever you call them.
Connecticut. Can we say that?
Exactly.
There we
One
go.
person you mentioned that I, of course, have to bring up, we are not going to blow past it, blow being the operative word, is obviously Amethyst. Now, I know you get sick of asking this, but I obviously have to ask. So, one of the things that they talked about a lot on the show was that you and Amethyst had a kind of, a backstory relationship, something. So, maybe just to sort of put that to rest and explain it, can you sort of talk exactly what actually was it and how well did you know each other?
I think it was a temporary situational whatever it was. I say we dated not as in like, oh my gosh, this was my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, at the time. Because now, of course, she's come out as trans. At the time, she was not. I think she was non-binary. But yeah, it was during the pandemic, like 2 years before we got on. And we hung out a few times and whatever, and it was done. And I literally said somewhere that we literally both ghosted each other. I stopped texting her and I didn't get a text back, or I didn't get a text from her either. So I think we both just were like, okay, done.
Because
Sorry.
what I found really interesting was that on the show, obviously we all know that, especially on reality TV and on Drag Race, they love that sort of thing. Obviously, that's like mother's milk for them, right?
Yeah.
But did you going into the show? Obviously, I assume did you know Amethyst was going to be on, or did you just see when you got to
Oh,
set?
of course. Honestly, so speaking of the spilling of the tea portion of the show, um, I knew Amethyst was on. One of the bars that I used to work at told me Lucy was on. So I knew Lucy was on. But before we left, I had got so pissed at Amethyst. Like she had never seen me angry. Most people don't see me angry. I really don't give that much of a fuck about anything to get that pissed off. I feel like the only times I get pissed off like that is if I'm arguing with like my family members. But that's whatever. Um, but she was canceling gigs and I was also canceling gigs. Um, and she was telling people why she was canceling the gig, like the legitimate reason. So I'm like, what is wrong with you? If you mess up me getting on this show, I'm gonna be pissed. Like I laid into her. Like, what are you doing? We cannot. I don't care if it's the showrunner. You tell them you cannot do it. You tell them somebody died. I don't give a but stop telling people it's because you're on Drag Race, because if they think you are on and you're canceling gigs, they're gonna think I'm on because I'm canceling gigs. And no shade, I work more than you. So that's why we're canceling gigs, girl. And then she got like super quiet. And then the next day, I don't remember if I apologized or not. If I did, great. If I didn't, that's what she gets because you almost ruined it for us all. Um, so yeah, so to answer your question, yes, we knew. But me and Lucy were trying to keep it hush hush. And people, of course, figured out that I was gone. But I think out of the Connecticut girls, Lucy was the last one to get like discovered by the world that she was gone.
Sorry, just going back to the Amethyst thing, just to kind of round that out a little bit. One thing I was always really curious about was 'cause obviously I always felt like they clearly were trying to make that your storyline, like you and her storyline, which
Yeah.
I can understand from a show perspective, sort of. Did
Mhm.
you, when you knew Amethyst was going in, which you knew beforehand, did you think
Mhm.
they're going to make this our storyline, so I'm going to completely try and reject it as much as possible, or what were your thoughts on it?
No, I think going into it, but neither of us wanted to talk about it. And which it probably would have gotten brought up at some point anyway. But and production didn't know. This was not a thing. Like it wasn't even enough of a thing for production to see it in any social media or interview somebody about us and figure it out. That's how much it was not a thing. When production found out, of course, we had to like talk about it. But also, uh, I blame Spice, and I love you, Spice, if you see this, but I blame Spice because, and actually, maybe I don't blame Spice. Maybe I was mic'd at the time and didn't remember. But off camera, Spice had asked if we knew everybody, how we knew everybody, and I'm like, oh yeah, me and Amethyst had a little tryst at some point. And she brought it up in the first episode's Untucked. And I would be interested to go back and watch it just to see if they show my face when she asked me that, because I definitely would have given her like a little side eye because I didn't want my storyline, and I'm sure Amethyst would agree that we didn't want our storylines to be about a blip in time that has nothing to do with our drag career. And I can't speak for her, but for me, at that time I had been doing drag for 5 years. I was very proud of my drag career. I'm a very good drag queen. I did not want my storyline to be about a dalliance I had with another bitch in the workroom. That wasn't even a thing. But it got me screen time in the beginning, so hey, here we are.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of one of those like it can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it because it was a big storyline. I feel like, or that you could tell they were pushing the storyline, but you and Amethyst kind of weren't really giving them anything, which I can understand. You don't necessarily want your storyline to be about being with someone else because um, but if I remember correctly, wasn't there also they were trying to at least from the edit make it seem like one of you ghosted the other, so it was almost like unrequited or something like that. Was that also part of it?
Um, I don't remember if that was the lane that they were trying to go by. I think they just wanted clarification on what happened. I think in the moment, Amethyst might have made it feel like she stopped talking to me. And again, I don't really care. At this point, she has a boyfriend now. I have a boyfriend now. None of that even really matters to us. But um, I didn't want the impression. I think this was more online that we did. I didn't want the impression to be that I was left at the altar because that was never the case in our situation. I think we both were runaway brides.
That's a very good way of describing it. And I just thought it was so fascinating because I mean, we know Drag Race love this sort of thing, but I always found your particular sort of situationship, the way it was explained on the show, was a little bit unclear because it was clearly obvious you two didn't really want to talk about it, but the producers did. So I personally found it kind of entertaining, but
Mhm.
anyway.
I mean, for a show, it's a great storyline. Two, like former star-crossed lovers get on the show together. What happened? Who cheated on who? Who dumped who? No, yeah, but it was never that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what you were giving them. So I think that I felt like that storyline sort of died
Yeah.
quite quickly, and then they would bring it up
I definitely think
occasionally.
I definitely think it died due to me. I'm sure Amethyst wouldn't have minded since it was out chatting about it, but I don't even think I really gave anyone anything in the confessionals about that. And I'm so glad they kept it in. Um, all I remember saying is if y'all ship us out there in the world, I will block you.
People at home, don't try to ship us. I'm not having it. I will block you.
And I have kept that promise ever since, especially since it was aired. I am keeping my promise. If y'all bring it up or try to make it be a thing, I'm going to block you. And guess what? I've blocked every person that has tried to make a joke about it, because I'm a woman of my word.
You stand on business, Mrs. Fierce. Uh, so obviously, Drag Race is probably what my audience will know you from best. So obviously, we've got to talk about it. Obviously, you were there for a decent amount of episodes, so you. We can't obviously go through all of them. So what I always thought would be interesting would be because your track record was actually pretty solid in terms of you were safe every episode apart from the one that you were eliminated,
Well,
obviously.
yes.
And
Well, yes.
you were high placement wise on the design challenge, but I don't know if like maybe top or high was is like the official
Uh,
placement.
I like to say high safe because I got a lot of good critiques.
So what I thought would be interesting is obviously I don't want to go through every single episode. So what for you was your best episode and your least favorite episode? Like your favorite and your least favorite episodes and why?
I think my favorites would be um the first episode, getting to like do the talent show and our signature drag runway. Because my um entrance look, it was this all brown little moment, and I really wanted it for me, and I didn't say it on the show, but I really wanted it to represent many different kinds of melanin. So I had me, even though I didn't put like the lightest shade in there, but I had me as the lightest shade and different tones of brown into the buttons that were like the deepest brown that I could find, because that was important to me. And it was also kind of like a Pokemon evolution of a look that I had done in the past. And then I loved my signature drag runway with this hair right there. Um, and both of those made by Jeffrey Kelly. And I liked the sewing challenge episode because that was something that immediately I was like, okay, this is something that I am good at. Before Drag Race, I made everything that I wore. For Drag Race, I wore made barely anything that I wore on Drag Race. But that was a challenge. I'm like, okay, I know that I can do this. I was a little worried though, because literally, so we only get oh so much time to prepare beforehand. So the last few days are a mad dash. And I have patterns here that I've used in the past for different costumes and all that stuff. But I literally left all of my patterns on my bed along with 8 pairs of brand new lashes. So every lash you see me wear on Drag Race was crusty and dusty, that were just in my makeup kit. Thank God I even brought those. But yeah, that one was a little bit of a challenge for me in that regard, that I didn't have anything, but um, I made it work. And my least favorite was the episode I got eliminated on.
So one of the episodes that I also would love to talk about was Snatch Game because it's an iconic challenge, and you were Karen Huger, I believe is the name
Yeah,
from the Real Housewives of Potomac, I think it is.
correct. Yeah.
And one of the parts of the episode that I would love to ask you about, and actually one of the subscribers brought this up as well. So there's always the infamous moments on Snatch Game where you do the walkthrough with Rue, and Rue always tries to get people to change who they're going to do, and all that sort of thing. That's a common thing. But there was this
Mhm.
moment where there was almost like a stare down moment between you and RuPaul, almost a bit like when Pearl on season 7, like, is there something on my face?
I don't, you're being very reserved right now. For Snatch Game, you have to come out.
So people were wondering, was that edited to look that way, or was there actually a real intense stare down?
I think to everyone else but me in the room, it felt like a um Pearl moment. But for me, I am a young black man under all of this, and I personally was raised when somebody is speaking to you, especially an elder, you listen and look them in the eyes. And my resting listening face is this. This is you can Ask any of my friends, my boyfriend. This is my resting. This if I'm listening, hmm this is my face. There's no like smile animation because all my power is going to right here. Um, so I think for someone who doesn't really know me, just met me, me looking at them like that is could come off disrespectful when in reality I never meant it like that. It was me listening, and then she had asked me something, and I generally didn't know the answer, didn't know how to respond. So I'm just like, I, I don't know. And when you tell me that you don't really know the housewives like that, well, I don't know what to say to that. So it really wasn't meant to be like a disrespectful moment. And I love the additional airtime that I got in the Wow Presents Plus was me seemingly disrespecting RuPaul. But yeah, that was really not a Pearl moment. Um, and I don't think I would have ever had a Pearl moment with RuPaul. I genuinely respect RuPaul. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna blame it on the edit. I'm the one who did it, but I'm blaming it on the edit for
Well,
sure.
it's true because I guess like they put the shady music and like the dun 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 music in the background. So obviously, and
Mhm.
they put like the shady sound effects. So I'm sure it probably on camera it looks a lot more awkward than maybe it was in the room. But they did have that confessional. I think it was Selena who was like, Robin's giving her
Oh, yeah,
nothing.
but that's what I mean again to and I just met Selena. I didn't know Selena before that. To someone who doesn't know me, who's not familiar with my ways, of course is going to look like that. And even in editing, I don't think they tried to make it look shadier than it was. But they don't know me like that either. So they don't know all of my isms. To them, it was 100% genuinely probably a Pearl moment.
It definitely gave you some airtime, but I guess it brought up a question. I think it's quite a big thing that a lot of people would brought up. So I guess now is probably like a good time to talk because it fits in. So I mentioned this in the kind of the beginning of the interview was one of the things I think people remember you most for is the fact that you weren't shown on camera very much and your edit was like not very
Lovely.
basically very good, which I'm sure
Wonderful.
you're aware of.
Somebody on Reddit said it was a purple edit or something like that, which I think is like a reference to another reality show or something. I don't know, but I've seen all the things. I've seen the Who is Robin Fierce. I've seen the but I with that I also have seen the We want to see more of you. We want you on All Star and all of that fun stuff. So with the good and the bad of it, it's nice that there are people that want to see more of me. But I think also, which I think I've said it before, I think it was to my detriment that I knew so many people going into Drag Race because um, I would mostly, especially on camera, I would mostly be talking to the people that I already knew. So it wasn't like they were getting anything super special, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I gave them nothing. I just probably didn't give them enough. And there were many big personalities. If I did ever go out, if they ever asked me, and if I was in a place where I wanted to say yes, I probably would speak up a little bit more now that I know the job. But yeah, I think it was to my detriment that I knew people there because I really kind of just stuck with them. And when I did speak to other people, like me and what you didn't see on the show is me and Anitra were close on the show. Me and Aura were getting close on the show towards the end. And I think me and Malaysia were getting close, but all of those conversations happened like off camera.
For you, do you regret not being bigger, or are you happy that you sort of stayed true to who you actually are? Or was it not who you are? Do you think
I
you were too
first and
reserved?
foremost, I'm never going to apologize, regret being who I am. Every day, Robin, if it doesn't have to do with me, if it doesn't have to do with my check, if it doesn't have to do, if I am not in the drama for the most part, I'm not gonna be in it. That's every day, Robin. If you don't poke me, I'm not going to poke you most of the time. If we're friends, that's a different story. great. If it's like an untucked moment and we had a few cocktails, that's a different story. Great. But it wasn't great for reality TV at the time. I can see that, and I think Mono from the Drag Her podcast was like, Robin is just too sane for reality TV.
One of the things while you were speaking, 'cause you were talking, you mentioning obviously the edit and things. One of the things that I thought was quite, unusual about your season was obviously your season was infamously cut down to like 40-minute episodes, and it was a huge
Right.
talking point at the time. And they've since released like more full edits on Wow Presents Plus and
Right.
things. Can you talk us through how did you find out that that was going to be the case? Because I assume obviously you found out probably just before it came out, maybe.
Honestly, that I don't remember. This was like 3 or 4 years ago. I feel like I probably would have found out maybe a few days before the rest of the world, if not the same time as the rest of the world during um, the actual premiere party. Um, but yeah, that's not a discussion that we were privy to beforehand, at least to my recollection. If one of the other girls says different, I would believe them. But um, yeah, I don't remember hearing about that, at least while we were there.
And how did you feel about when you heard that they were going to be cutting the episodes down?
Um, I don't think that I felt too much a kind of way because I mean some things I am very forgetful. Don't ask me any Drag Race trivia. I've seen every single episode there is. I don't remember a lot of it unless you like remind me. I didn't remember that the episodes were hour and a half to begin with. I thought they were always an hour. And I've hosted viewing parties, so I should know better, but I always thought they were an hour anyway. And then I thought that some episodes just happened to be a 90-minute moment.
So, do you think that perhaps a lot of interesting stuff got cut? Like, was there anything you were watching the season you thought they missed this whole storyline, that this was not in there and then it was in maybe the bigger edit? Or is there anything you can think of that, like a big thing that was not shown maybe because of the edit?
Um, Honestly, I don't think that I mean we've seen the 90-minute episodes and it didn't really add that much. You get a little bit of whatever, but their story is gonna be their story is gonna be their story no matter how long the episodes are. It's just how much time do we have to tell that story. So all the stories that we saw in the 60-minute episodes, those are gonna be the same stories in the 90-minute episodes, maybe just a few more seconds of clips here and there. Um, and I think that's just a production thing. You get your footage, you see what story do we have, what story do we want to tell, and whatever amount of time that you have, that's the time you use to tell that story. Um, so yes, we want 90-minute episodes because we want to see as much as we can. But did it take away? No, I'm sure it made the production and editing team's job a little bit harder to try to fit everything into an hour. But also, even in a 90-minute episode, and we've heard it time and time again, there are things that get cut out. We are filming for hours and hours and hours. So you're only going to get so much. So I understand the anger and backlash that they got for the 60 minutes, but you still got the same story. And I don't think anybody who watched the 90 minutes would disagree.
Speaking of something a bit kind of unrelated, it just reminded me because obviously you've got your spear, your golden spear in the background, I
Oh,
can see.
yes.
Now that was obviously for one of your
I love
runways.
that runway.
Yes. That was a great one. I loved that one. So yeah, speaking of the spear, it kind of reminded me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that when you were, I think it was when you were at Roscoe's, I think you said that this was the episode where you had this outfit on, you got drunk in Untucked. So you were almost like using the spear to like hold you up because you were so drunk. Is that true?
Yes, this episode was, I think, the first episode that they introduced us to the House of Love cocktails. I think before it was like champagne or something. What was this, episode 3 or 4 or something like that? Um, so they introduced us to the House of Love. I've never had a House of Love cocktail in my life. Me and Mistress are in the corner like, ooh, girl, let's try all the flavors. So what did we do? Actually, I don't think I tried all the flavors. I was halfway through. I maybe tried three flavors, and then I was about to try another one, and then Mistress finished the rest of mine. But when I tell you I'm so happy, I was not in the bottom that week because baby, I was about to be Jujubee. And me and Marsha were holding on to my spear in the back watching them do Diana Ross.
It's so funny because yeah, 'cause I guess we don't really see stuff at the back as much. But I remember when you said it, I think it was at Roscoe's. And I thought it was really interesting, and then I was sort of looking back at the episode, and I was trying to see if you could tell, but you couldn't really see much. But it's funny to hear that sort of thing. 'Cause we don't see queens getting drunk that much on the show as they used to, because they now limit the alcohol, if I'm correct. So
Yeah, I mean they make sure that the girls don't get too messy, which my season didn't. I don't remember them like being like, okay, y'all's had enough. Because I think just in general, my season, even though, yeah, when we're out in actual life, we can turn up and all, and I don't really drink that much anyway, but nobody at my season was like just chugging it, guzzling it down at the end. So I think we all knew that we were in a safe space.
I'd love to move on to my subscriber questions. So
Sure.
I asked my subscribers to submit questions. I had lots and lots of questions, so I had to cut it down quite a lot. So the first question comes from my Patreon member, Emmy. Hi, Emmy.
Hi,
Who,
Emmy.
who said, what challenge did you not get to do that you were looking forward to the most?
I would have loved to make it to the top four, as many of us do, and got to do like an actual verse for an actual song. I did a verse for Golden Hips, which was cute. Recommend y'all rewatch it, re-listen to it. My verse was sickening. Um, but I would have loved to actually do an actual song and not a parody of a song. Because I can actually write. I have music out. I can actually sing. So all of those things would have been fun to get to do as well. And honestly, the episode after me, the improv challenge, even though I'm not in the past haven't been really like an actor like that, it would have been something that I would have wanted to try.
Well, speaking of your singing that we sort of you talked about earlier, so there were actually quite a few questions about this. So one of them actually came from Ada Vox, who some of you may know was on American
Oh,
Idol and
hi, Ada.
also Queen of the Universe.
Yeah. Which
And
actually, before you say that, before I forget, I was actually supposed to be on Queens of the Universe, or I was in the
oh,
process of getting on Queens of the Universe. I got a call, or email, a second email confirming, hey, we want to continue casting with you. But it was a week after I had got my confirmation, for Drag Race. So I'm just like, oh, maybe season three, cut two. And honestly, if they were still doing Queens of the Universe, I would probably still do it. But cut two, it's no more.
sadly. Which, by the way, is it for anyone that doesn't know? It's almost like the X Factor, but for drag. So it's sort of a singing drag show. So I thought it was very fun. So Ada Vox was on the show as well as also American Idol, and said, "Love her," as in you. And then said, "Tell her I want to know when she'll be using her lovely singing voice more often." And someone else said, "You have a fantastic voice. I need to know, will we ever get music? I need it."
You already have music. If you did not know, I had come out with Bad Bitchery while I was on my season. That came out, I think, the week of the finale. And then later that year, after Pride, which was so stupid of me, I released a cover of I'm Coming Out that's more of like a dance version of it. And then last year, for those who celebrate Christmas, I did a Christmas song underneath the mistletoe. Open up my heart like a home. Let us know, let us know, let us know. And currently, I am working on more music, so more music to come. I just got an edit of one song that I finished singing and writing. We haven't started another one yet, but more music to come. And I'm doing more singing shows. Like I did a full Christmas show in December. If you want to watch that, it's on my channel. And I'm doing another one June 14th at 54 Below in New York City. And that one's a night of pride with Robin Fierce, where I'm singing some of my favorite songs. I'm telling more stories about me and my queer journey. Um, and people get to know me a little bit more. So that's where you can see more of me and hear my singing voice.
Another question that we had, not 100% related to your singing voice, but it is sort of kind of on the relate of things that you're good at or things that you love. So I do have a
Mhm.
question from someone who you may have heard of called Aura Mayari,
Oh, pfft,
who
yes.
said, "Why is Aura Mayari your favorite Drag Race sister?"
I hate to dispel that rumor, but she's not. Honestly, she's my least favorite. No, I love Aura. Um, Speaking of me and Aura getting close on the tail end of our show, she got eliminated right after me, right after having a win. Um, and I was home depressed, literally having nightmare dreams about how I could have lip synced better, which cut to I saw the episode and I'm like, no, I was kind of sickening. We both slayed. I think me and Jax don't get credit for our lip sync being the first actually good one from both parties. Um, the lip syncs were good, but some whatever. You get what I'm saying. But both of us did a good job, and I feel like either way it went would have been justified. Um, but I was home having nightmares about that. She just got home. We just added her to the group chat because of course we give each other our numbers and stuff as we leave. And she was had an open invitation. Hey, I have a guest room here in Nashville. If any of you girls want to hang out for a week or whatever, come on down. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take you up on that because I need to leave these four walls because I'm a full-time drag queen and I can't work anywhere. I can't really go out because we're in our dark period right now. So let's go to Nashville and hang out with my sister and pretend not to know each other when when we're out in public. And I think that trip is what made me and Aura like our season 15 besties. Um, and out of all the girls, and I talked to a few of them like consistently, but out of all the girls, I talked to her probably the most.
Another question, this question you kind of touched on this earlier, but I thought I had to ask. It's the question everyone asks. Someone said basically, would you go back for an All Stars? And they said, love you, by the way. And they said, would you go back for All Stars? But also, if you did go back, what's one thing that you would change?
I literally, anytime I'm asked this question, I give the exact same answer. It's not that I would or wouldn't. It is where am I in my life at the time when and if uh, I'm asked, and what kind of show they're doing and all that stuff. This new format I really enjoy. I think a lot of us um, enjoy this new format, which is nice. It's a good like switch up, but again, it really depends on where I am in my life, when and if they asked. As far as what would I change, I wouldn't change anything. I would add to what was already shown because I never did a horrible job on Drag Race. I didn't need a glow up, although I've had a makeup glow up, but I already looked good on the season. The fashion was already there. It was just plainly showing a little bit more of myself. So it's nothing that I would change. It's more of what I would add, and that's just showing and sharing more of myself more openly.
One thing I actually wanted to ask about, talking about sort of the end of, coming to the end of that part of it, was obviously the reunion on your season, because yours is the last season with a proper reunion. What
Hmm.
was it like filming the reunion? Because I feel like I personally, when I watched it, and I did a podcast episode with another YouTuber called Drag Detective for that episode, so it sort of sticks in my mind because I remember rewatching it to prepare.
Hmm.
I always felt that they wanted drama and they wanted to make it like a season 9 reunion, but it kind of wasn't. How did it feel in the room? Did you feel that energy, or is that a misinterpretation?
Do I feel like they wanted or were trying to get us to be dramatic?
Yes.
Um, Not necessarily. I think that that's kind of their job, in general, to get whatever juicy details, whether for the good or the bad, out of us. But I think with my season in particular, um, anytime there was drama, it pretty much was resolved, if not that episode, within the next one or two episodes after that. And I think for the most part, the majority of my cast, if there is an issue with something, they discussed it, they had their fight, and then it's just like, you know what, girl, it is what it is. We really don't care that much. So I think by the time the reunion had come around, um, if there was anything left, we were literally all in a group chat together that we would not stop talking in up until the time that the season was finished. And we still talking it now, of course, not as much because we're all not on TV anymore. Some of us are, so shout out to the girls that are. Um, but yeah, anytime there was an issue, we had already talked about it. So um, I think my season was generally very genuine. Um, in how they communicated with each other.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what added to the season, that the authenticity and the fact that there was drama, but I could tell that it was maybe as dramatic as some other seasons where you can tell that people genuinely don't like each other. I think your season, it came across like maybe there are some people that don't see eye to eye, but in general, it was mainly resolved, and it was
Yeah.
just a season of talented people with a little bit of drama, is how I saw
And I
it.
mean, not to make it an age thing, but the majority of my cast, I think I'm correct in this, are late 20s to 30s. Um, I think into 40. I don't know how old Sasha is, but um, she's not old. I'm not
If
saying
she's
she's
not, you're
old.
getting a
The
call. If
oldest of us. She was the oldest of us.
yeah.
Um, but we were all generally a little bit older. And I think just as you get older, you're not harping on some of these things. And baby, we got work to do, bills to pay, and fun to be had, to be sitting there stuck holding grudges and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that it was mature queen standing on business and kind of getting on with it. So I personally appreciated that. And I really loved you on your season. So thank you so much for being on. It was such a treat speaking to you. I was wondering if we could finish this off by doing my quick fire round of questions. So it's just 5 silly questions. Some are drag related, some are not. But it's just like
Okay.
your quick fire answer, the first answer that comes to your head. So, lipstick or lip gloss?
Today, just lip gloss.
Yes or no, pineapple on pizza?
No, absolutely not.
Favorite
Ew.
favorite emoji?
Ooh. Probably this one. Because that's me, as y'all have seen.
Cocktail or champagne?
Cocktail.
And finally, can you summarize your experience on Drag Race in one word?
Traumatic. No. I'm kidding. Is eye-opening one word or is that two?
With a hyphen,
No,
it could be one word.
We'll make it eye-opening.
That's a great word. Well, Robin, thank you so much. It's been absolutely a treat to speak to you. If people watching, where can people find you? Like, can you tell us about your social media? And do you have any like projects coming up or anything that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah. Depending on when this is coming out, if you are in the New York area, literally all my attention and time right now is going into I have 3 weeks to do it. Plan this one woman show, A Night of Pride with Robin Fierce at 54 Below in New York City. There is a range of ticket prices, so there's something for everybody. You can use code Fierce5 for $5 off your tickets. And it's gonna be great. It's gonna be me singing live. I got a three-piece band, so you're getting live music and vocals. I might tease the new song that's coming out. And I think that's the other thing I would love people to keep an eye out on is make sure you're following me across all social media at The Robin Fierce so that you can be up to date on all of the new music and things that I'm putting out.
Well, thank you very much. And you really are the Robin Fierce. So thank you so much for speaking to me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
Thank you so much. Bye.